What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So a quick heads up, this week, of course, Christmas is on the 25th, and there won't be a Newswave on the 25th, and also there won't be one on the 26th, the day after Christmas. So nothing Thursday and Friday here for Newswave. We'll be back on Monday, the 29th. I will still have all kinds of fun videos. I got some good stuff planned, don't worry, for each day. So there will be something on the channel, but we'll reconvene here after the weekend for Newswave. But today, we do have a lot to go over, which does include a bunch of last-minute holiday sales and deals that I saw and wanted to point out, and actually some information around Nintendo's bundle and how it's set to be discontinued here very, very soon. And also, we have some controversy breaking out around Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It's been disqualified from a award show that it was set up to completely win, and that's, well, gone a bit over about as well as you'd expect online. And we do have another follow-up for that Nintendo game key card situation where one publisher decided to tell us about how there are more cartridges coming in, and now they're backtracking and saying, well, nothing to see here, guys. All of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with some interesting stats around the Steam replay, which was the Wrapped for Steam. And it gave us an idea as to the trends of people online for Steam who are playing their different games through the launcher. And it turns out not as much playtime in brand new games as in games that came out this year, and we can see this. This is over on Tweaktown, and they did a lot of the math to put all this together between years, like the last 7 years, for example, all the way up to this most recent 2025 release window of titles. And they say Steam Replay 2025 shows that only 14% of all Steam user playtime was spent playing new games, as in the vast majority are on games that are 2 or 1 or more years older at this point. And if you look over on SteamDB, it's not shocking. The top 2 games typically are just games that are outside of this calendar year in terms of release, with obviously you have Counter-Strike and then you have Dota 2. And I think that's one of the reasons that Arc Raid is such an interesting standout here. It's typically the 3rd slot that I see on SteamDB for overall users playing on Steam, and that just came out, right? So that's the thing with Steam, is there's so many choices. People are so entrenched in different games, especially more competitive online titles. That's where most of the playtime goes. But there's also like 40 million people or something concurrent that's been tracked throughout months for Steam. So it's still a pretty big pie, and even having like a small slice is pretty significant for any one of these publishers with a new game. Also, I do want to point out Gran Turismo 7, as they did have a reveal for an interesting milestone for the series. This we can see, this is over on GT Planet, says Gran Turismo 7 has 2 million monthly active users, and it's still growing. This was in an interview at the Gran Turismo World Series 2025 World Finals, where the series producer went ahead and just let everyone know that, hey, you know, this really long-running franchise with Sony, it's been there since the beginning of the PlayStation, no big deal, still rolling along, still getting more popular. And I mean, I know we talk about Helldivers 2 as being the live service game that Sony has shown that they can do it. Gran Turismo started with PlayStation from the beginning, and it has morphed into a live service game, so it's gone through that entire transformation and come out the other side very successful. 2 million monthly active users for a game that, yes, is like online connectivity required type of game. A lot of that's with the microtransactions that go on, but it's a consistent revenue driver for Sony and a very, successful live service game. Just very quietly doing that usually goes under the radar completely. Satisfye is now extending their big sales so you can save 20% off throughout the holidays. If you're planning to get a Switch 2, or even better, just got one, a great place to start when shopping for your new system is Satisfye and their Zen Grip 2. This takes the ergonomics of the system in handheld mode to a new level, using asymmetric handles for correct hand placement for unparalleled comfort even during longer play sessions. The floating design means your system fits perfectly without worrying about unnecessary scratching, and all ports around the Switch 2 are still easily accessible. The Zen Grip 2 also fits when docked, so there's no need to remove it when you want to play on the big screen. It sounds like a small thing, but being able to just dock and undock the system while in the grip makes it really easy for me, since I just leave the Zen 2 grip on my Switch 2 basically all the time. Oh, and for any Steam Deck owners out there, Satisfye has you covered as well with their Stealth Grip, bringing an ergonomic design along with protection to take this PC gaming handheld to the next next level. Head on over to satisfygaming.com or click the link in the description below to take advantage of the extended holiday sale today. Thanks to Satisfye for sponsoring today's video. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with last-minute holiday sales for games across all different platforms because, go figure, they're all running sales just a few days before Christmas. Now, there is one other thing I want to point out because it appears that Mario Kart World Switch 2 bundle is done. It's like there's no more being produced at this time, and what's out there is it, and once they're all sold, that's kind of the end of the production run for the Mario Kart World Switch 2 release or bundle that debuted on the launch of the Switch 2 in June. Now, we know this because there was a memo that was going around within GameStop. Of course, it leaked online, and then GameStop decided to come out over on Twitter X and just let everyone know, hey, that's it. Whatever's out there is out there, so pick it up if you want it, because otherwise it's gone. And what I noticed is it seems that some places are still discounting the Switch 2. So Best Buy is one that's currently discounting it if you add it to your cart, to where the Switch 2 Mario Kart World bundle is $450. It's $50 off. Now, Wario64 also pointed out that Micro Center is just doing $50 off what seems to be across the board, so you can get the $450 Switch 2 without Mario Kart World for $400. That's a pretty good deal considering the Switch 1 OLED, the OLED is $400. So it's like, yeah, obviously you're going to go get the Switch 2 for the same price. So I want to point that out for anyone who is last minute shopping for the system and you have a Micro Center nearby, or you can just go click add to cart for Best Buy. If it's still in stock, you may as well take advantage of that, especially for Mario Kart World, since that bundle is basically done now. So with that, let's take a look over some of the digital storefronts that are running different sales. And while there are going to be some games that are going to have crossover, I'm just pointing out unique games or different games for each one. And again, you may find them on sale on the competing platforms and stuff. So we'll start here with Sony. Madden 26, that one is $28. The College Football 26 as well is $28. Elden Ring Night Rain at $30. Red Dead Redemption 2 is $15. That's a good one to keep in mind since we believe there is a patch or an upgrade of some kind coming for the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series, and then a Switch 2 launch down the line. So if you don't have it yet, not a bad idea to throw it on the account and wait for that big upgrade with 60 FPS and stuff. Sonic Racing Crossworlds at $49. Crew Motorfest at $12. Hell Is Us at $36. This is one I'm keeping an eye on. I wouldn't mind it getting a little lower in price. Let me know what you thought of this game, because it's been on my radar and I've just kind of been just keeping tabs on it here and there. Nier Automata, that one is $16. And then A Way Out, awesome co-op title, by the way, $5. And I am pointing out these are digital games, but if, say, you're getting a digital PlayStation 5 or something, whether you're gifting it or maybe even you're expecting it, you can buy these on your account through the web browser and have them set up and ready to go. So all you do is hit download when you unbox the system and set it up and get all that stuff out of the way. Anyway, moving on here to Nintendo, we have Hades 1 at $7.50. Hades 2, that one is $22. So you can get Hades 1 and 2 for just under $30. That's a pretty good deal. Bastion is $3. Transistor is $4. Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate at $10. Monster Hunter Rise plus Sunbreak at $10. Wouldn't mind seeing a Switch 2 upgrade or update, by the way, for that Monster Hunter Rise title. That would actually be really cool to see. We have Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6. You can, any of them really, $10 each. Monster Hunter Stories at $10, Monster Hunter Stories 2 at $15, Okami HD at $10, and Capcom has gone crazy discounting like everything Mega Man. So if you look at the Legacy collections, they're all marked down to $7 or less for each volume, and Mega Man 11 is just $5. So if you've been curious about the Blue Bomber, you've heard a lot about this franchise, great way to get into the series. You can pick up some of the Legacy collections, or hey, you want to just jump into Mega Man 11, you can do that too. Moving over to the Xbox, Battlefield 6, that one is $49. Arc Raiders, we just mentioned, now that's one of the top 3 titles there on Steam. That one's $32. Split Fiction, another very good co-op game at $38. Outer Worlds 2 at $49. Assassin's Creed Shadows at $35. Dying Light the Beast, $48. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, reigning game of the year at $40. We have Final Fantasy 16 at $25. Doom the Dark Ages at $35. Hogwarts Legacy Deluxe Editions has come with the extra bells and whistles. That one's $12. And then Monster Hunter Wilds at $38. And then moving over to Steam with their winter sale, we have Diablo 4. That one is $30. Dune Awakening at $32. Fantasy Life I at $45. Stardew Valley at $9. Metal Gear Solid Delta at 42. Then I saw the steep discounts tab, and I have to take a look through here. So Maneater, I noticed that had a pretty big jump for the Steam concurrent player count yesterday. That's because the game is $4. If you've never played Maneater, it's actually kind of a fun action RPG where you're a shark and, well, you're going around eating people. So it's I don't know, it's kind of a fun, kind of weird game. Definitely, I think, worth the $4. Fallout 76, if you've been paying attention, of course, the Fallout series is back. Might be interested in checking out 76. That has some crossover there with the series going on right now on Amazon. That one's $4. Ace Combat 7, that one's $5. Awesome soundtrack, a really fun game. Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, another good one, $5. Darksiders 3 at $4, Detroit Become Human at $4, and Dead Island 2 at $5. That is absolutely ridiculous on the steep discounts side here when it comes to Steam, and one of the reasons that people really like the platform, because when they discount stuff, they really go for it. But those are just a bunch of different sales that are currently ongoing across Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and Steam. So if you see any other deals that look really good, especially if there's any big-time games that are marked down, of course, let us know down in the comments. Next up, let's talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and how some controversy has arisen here around its disqualification at an Indie Games Awards show, and it has to do with, once again, you guessed it, AI. Now, this was already a talking point after the whole thing with Larian, where Clair Obscur came back into the headlines as, oh, they had talked about using AI in development, and there were placeholder textures and stuff that were in the game that were then patched out. Well, it seems like that award show wasn't too thrilled hearing about that. We can see this over on Eurogamer, where they say the Indie Game Awards has withdrawn 2 awards previously given to Clair Obscur Expedition 33, not because of the debate about what does and doesn't constitute an indie game, but because a representative of Sandfall Interactive had agreed that no Gen AI had been used in the development when in fact it had. That is funny, though, the idea of what constitutes an indie game, and I feel like we have kind of maybe lost the plot with that a bit, because you can still have a big-time publisher backing you, and you're still considered an indie game. So anyway, at this point, it seems to be more about budget or number of people working on the game, rather than it should have been, oh, if you're developing the game, you're also publishing it. But again, either way, they say, quote, the Indie Game Awards have a hard stance on the use of Gen AI throughout the nomination process and during the ceremony itself. When it was submitted for consideration, a representative of Sandfall Interactive agreed that no Gen AI was used in the development of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. In light of Sandfall Interactive confirming the use of Gen AI art in production on the day of the Indie Game Awards 2025 premiere, this does disqualify Clair Obscur Expedition 33 from its nomination, which it was set up to win that award for like Indie Game of the Year. And after the disqualification from I saw Blueprints won, which, hey, no knock on Blueprints, awesome game, so I get that. But here we are now, once again, at this crossroads of AI in development. We just saw, again, Larian really go through this, where they were trying to describe what they did with generative AI early on, where they were just conceptualizing and putting information together, almost as like a way for research. But then it led into the idea of, wait, then does that create the concept art for you? What are you doing with it? It was still kind of, people were unsure. They weren't as clear as to how exactly it was part of their workflow, and all it was looking like was, oh, we use Gen AI to develop our games. Not necessarily the case as we hit a button and then AI just makes everything. They still have a bunch of people employed that are doing the artwork and stuff. It just seemed like that was a way to gather ideas for putting concept art together. But still, Gen AI being used, if indeed Sandfall has said, oh, we didn't use it at all, and then they come back and say they did. Yeah, I mean, at that time, I get why they go, oh, okay, well, clearly that's overstepping the line here that we drew, and we're going to go ahead and withdraw them from the award show. Here's the thing, though. This once again goes down the rabbit hole of how do we figure out where that line is in the future for AI in development. If I, say, search on Google and I'm looking for something and their Gemini AI, which, by the way, populates automatically every time at the top, all of a sudden comes through and answers the question and gathers all the stuff for me, and I go, oh, okay, well, there it is. That works. Have I now participated in using generative AI to research and bring ideas together for my game, which would then disqualify me for the award show? See, because I think here soon we will see studios attempt to make entire games with generative AI. And then obviously, yeah, that's not even people making the game anymore. But you have to understand it's being used. It's here in gaming, and it's gonna be very difficult to remove it from gaming when it's a very competitive landscape, and all it comes down to now is how fast can you get the game done in a certain quality level. And if AI can get you there to say, oh, a game that would normally take us 7 years to make takes us 4 years to make, yeah, more and more studios are going to start really looking into generative AI and using it probably more than you think. In fact, again, I mentioned before, there are many studios now that are, I'm sure, researching it and even using it somewhat in conceptual stages or in R&D to see how it could fit into their workflow. So bottom line is, the age of AI in game development is here, and it's just how do you manage it at this point and how much is too much. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about those Switch 2 game key cards once again. I put out a video on Friday just detailing the situation with Inin and R-Type 3 Dimensions, where they just told us that Nintendo had announced 2 additional game card sizes, and it seemed to solve their problem, although they had to raise the price of the physical copy on the Switch 2 by $10, but they were able to put it on the cartridge and not just issue a game key card. Well, now they are pulling the nothing to see here scene, because look, we can see this was their page originally, where the highlighted portion here, as Nintendo points out, there is no better timing. 2 days ago, Nintendo announced 2 new smaller cartridge sizes for the Switch 2. This does allow us to recalculate production in a way that wasn't possible before. As a result, we've made the following decision. Then they go on to say that they can now put on the cart, it'll just be more expensive. And then they had to change that, edit it in real time, as again, people caught here, with now just saying, we could recalculate the production in a way that wasn't possible before, and they just say that's just from an update regarding the Switch 2 version. No real explanation at that point. And then, as I was making that video, they did put a correction out here, saying regarding Nintendo cartridge storage sizes, we would like to issue a correction regarding statements made earlier today in relation to those cartridge storage sizes. There have been no official announcement or confirmation from Nintendo concerning cartridge storage capacities. Any references to specific storage sizes should not be interpreted as official information from Nintendo. At this time, we can only confirm that our upcoming release, R-Type Dimensions 3, will be on a physical cartridge. No further technical details regarding cartridge specifications have been officially confirmed. We apologize for any confusion this may have caused and appreciate your understanding. So yeah, people obviously read that and they were like, oh, Nintendo got to you, huh? And yeah, I think maybe they got really excited. Like, that announcement came through and they're, oh, great, we can do this now. We can recalculate our costs, and it works out because we do have access to a smaller cartridge. And look, at this point, I think I'm just going to pick up the game physically on the Switch 2, and we'll take a look inside the cartridge to see exactly what's going on, because I feel like we're going to open it up and find, R-Type is 10 gigabytes, so a 16, maybe a 32 gigabyte cartridge. It wouldn't be an 8, it's too large for that. But I think there'll be some different sized cartridge in there, and that would be good for Nintendo going forward, just to have more options for publishers to choose from, as opposed to, we don't need the really expensive 64 gigabytes, so we're going to default to the game key card, because that has just been a frustrating thing to see happen over and over and over again online, where you see a game that looks really cool, and then you get the physical box art, you know what I'm talking about, and at the bottom, there's the white banner that just tells you it's a game key card, and it's immediately deflating, because I've really been interested in buying any game key cards. I buy the games that have the cartridge like fully set up with the game, and I just pass on a lot of the game key cards, or I just buy them digitally, because it's just, I'm not really planning on selling any of these games, so that kind of defeats the idea of what the game key card is meant for, which is the idea that you could trade them in or let people borrow them. It's just, it's not something that I'm necessarily doing anyway with my physical games or others, so the game key cards really don't make a lot of sense. It's just more convenient to buy digital then. So here's hoping maybe more of these 8, 16, 32 gigabyte cartridges start popping up, and we can get rid of that white banner, at least for some of these Switch 2 releases going forward. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the polls that I posted up over the weekend, because of course, this would be Game of the Year madness, and we can see, starting with Ender Magnolia versus Blueprints, and yeah, Blueprints did take that one, and a lot of people, again, were wondering, what exactly is Ender Magnolia? Again, that is the point, somewhat, of Game of the Year madness. What you are looking at are the top 32 games that have been rated this year. They have the top scores and OpenCritic, so you will probably come across some games that you have not heard about, but are high quality. So some people I saw in the comments were like, I guess I'll look into this Ender Magnolia game if it made the list. So hey, there you go, take a look. And then After that, we did have the other poll go up, which was Silksong versus Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, and Silksong did run it over, but I will say, Sonic at 24% for all the hype and everything that was going into Silksong's release, and it was a Game of the Year nominee. You know, Sonic Racing did all right, though. I will give it that. Taking a quarter at least, not bad. Not bad for Sonic Racing. But Blueprints moves on, and Hollow Knight Silksong does as well. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Z, who says, unless the game is coming out in less than 2 years, don't announce it. Yeah, I see that more and more now, where people are like, hey, just hold back on the announcement unless it's out even the same calendar year or a year from now. But then you also have people go, okay, what is this studio working on? What are they doing? They could tell you, but it's also that sense of, we're going to tell you and you'll see it in 4 years. So it is this give and take, this tug of war of how early do you want to know about something, especially right now where it's just very uncertain times, even with just game development. I mean, stuff's getting canceled all over the place that we probably don't hear about, let alone the stuff that we do know about. I mean, Bluepoint had to go back to the drawing board, right? We saw what happened with Naughty Dog, and again, there's probably a lot of games that we don't hear about getting canceled in R&D or conceptual phases, so it's difficult. The whole debacle with Metroid Prime 4, where that was announced in 2017 and just came out a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure is giving Nintendo cold feet around how early do we announce the next Mario or the next Zelda game. So it's tough. It really is. It's difficult to figure out how early you can announce something. And it probably comes down to how confident you are, to be honest, that it's even going to come out. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed last week's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you want to take a trip back to the old days, to 2018 actually, and see just how different the gaming industry was in terms of prices. And 5 years into that generation, I did a whole video looking back on that Black Friday, and I'll leave it in a video right below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.